Hi, I'm Jim Ward of the Middle Country Public Library, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode in our History Bites series. Today we will discuss the Little Rock Nine, a group of 9 black students who enrolled at formerly all-white Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas in September 1957. The group, consisting of Melba Pattillo, Ernest Green, Elizabeth Eckford, Minnijean Brown, Terrence Roberts, Carlotta Walls, Jefferson Thomas, Gloria Ray, and Thelma Mothershed, became the center of the struggle to desegregate public schools in the United States, especially in the South. The events that followed their enrollment in Little Rock Central High School provoked intense national debate about racial segregation and civil rights. In its Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka decision, issued May 17, 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that segregation of America's public schools was unconstitutional. Until the court's decision, many states across the nation had mandatory segregation laws, or Jim Crow laws, requiring African American and white children to attend separate schools. Resistance to the ruling was so widespread that the court issued a second decision in 1955, known as Brown II, ordering school districts to integrate with all deliberate speed. Warned by the Little Rock Board of Education not to attend the first day of school, the 9 African American students arrived on the second day, accompanied by a small interracial group of ministers. They encountered a large white mob in front of the school, who began shouting, throwing stones, and threatening to kill the students. In addition, about 270 soldiers of the Arkansas National Guard, sent by Arkansas Governor Orville Eugene Faubus, blocked the school's entrance. Faubus had declared his opposition to integration and his intention to defy a federal court order requiring desegregation. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, Governor Faubus, and Little Rock's Mayor Woodrow Mann discussed the situation over the course of 18 days, during which time the 9 students stayed home. The students returned to the high school on September 23rd, entering through a side door to avoid the protesters' attention and wrath. The crowd outside chanted, 2468, we ain't gonna integrate, and chased and beat black reporters who were covering the events. The Little Rock police, fearful that they could not control the increasingly unruly mob in front of the school, removed the 9 later that morning. They once again returned home and waited for further information on when they would be able to attend school. The students were sent home, but they returned on September 25th, protected by U.S. soldiers. Despite Eisenhower's publicly stated reluctance to use federal troops to enforce desegregation, he recognized the potential for violence and state insubordination. He thus sent the elite 101st Airborne Division, called the Screaming Eagles, to Little Rock and placed the Arkansas National Guard under federal command. After the 9 suffered repeated harassment such as kicking, shoving, and name-calling, the military assigned guards to escort them to classes. The guards, however, could not go everywhere with the students, and harassment continued in places such as the restrooms and locker rooms. After the 101st Airborne soldiers returned to Fort Campbell in November, leaving the National Guard troops in charge, segregationist students intensified their efforts to compel the 9 to leave Central. The Little Rock 9 did not have any classes together. They were also not allowed to participate in extracurricular activities at Central. Nevertheless, they returned to school every day to persist in obtaining an equal education. The Little Rock 9 continued to face physical and verbal attacks from white students throughout their studies at Central High. One of the students, Minnijean Brown, fought back and was expelled. The other 8 students remained at Central until the end of the school year. On May 27, 1958, Ernest Green became Central's first black graduate. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. attended his graduation ceremony. Green later told reporters, quote, "It's been an interesting year. I've had a course in human relations firsthand," end quote. The other 8, like their counterparts across the district, were forced to attend other schools or take correspondence classes the next year when voters opted to close all 4 of Little Rock's high schools to prevent further desegregation efforts. The closure of all 4 schools was after Governor Faubus's re-election in 1958, and rather than permit desegregation, he closed all of them. Many school districts in the South followed Little Rock's example, closing schools or implementing school choice programs that subsidized white students' attendance at private segregated academies, which were not covered by the Supreme Court's decision. Little Rock Central High School did not reopen with a desegregated student body until 1960, and efforts to integrate schools and other public areas throughout the country continued throughout the 1960s. I'd like to thank you all for joining us for today's episode. If you enjoyed it, click like, and if you watched on YouTube, hit subscribe. Thanks so much, and we'll see you all next time.